Let your mind soften, as if settling onto calm water. Now you are drifting into the ancient world, into a city that stood for more than 1,000 years, a place that preserved knowledge when the rest of Europe was darkened by war and famine, a place of libraries, marbled courtyards, glimmering mosaics, incense drifting in candle-lit halls. Today you rest in Byzantium, not in its bustling markets, not in its crowded streets, but in its spirit, its quiet, steady presence across the centuries. As the world changed, empires rose and fell, kings were crowned and dethroned. Byzantium remained patient, resilient, enduring like stone beneath flowing water. Let that feeling guide you, a sense of endurance, of stability, of calm. Picture a map gently unrolling across your imagination. Parchment, smooth and pale. Ink lines trace the outline of Europe and Asia, touching at a narrow strait of water called the Bosporus. Blue and quiet, like silk ribbon threaded through the continents. Here, on a peninsula shaped like a hand reaching toward the sea, lies the city that will one day be called Constantinople, but began as Byzantian or Byzantium. It is placed with purpose, not randomly, but almost as if nature carved the spot specifically for a great capital. To the north, ships sail to the Black Sea. To the south, boats reach the Aegean and Mediterranean. To the west lies Europe. To the east spreads Asia. It is a crossroads, a bridge between worlds, where travelers bring silk from China, spices from India, grain from Egypt, amber from the Baltic, and precious manuscripts from forgotten libraries. Everything flows here, and everything flows through here. This is not a city that hides. It welcomes, it absorbs, it endures. Let the image soften further. The sun sinks behind oak-coloured hills. The Sea of Marmara glimmers with gentle ripples, slow, steady, unhurried. Fishermen row small boats toward shore, nets full of flounder and mullet. The air smells faintly of salt and of wood smoke drifting from hearths across the peninsula. The harbour is quieting. Merchants are closing canvas awnings, brushing dust from their hands, stacking amphorae of olive oil neatly in rows. A child laughs, chasing a stray cat. The last voices of the day soften into murmurs. The water sways like a cradle, and you drift peacefully with it, the history unfolding, not rushed, not forced, only revealed gently, like silk unrolling. Before emperors wore crowns of gold, before mosaics glittered beneath domes, before diplomatic envoys crossed the palace floor in shimmering robes, Byzantion was a simple Greek settlement, small, quiet, content. Founded by colonists from Megara centuries before Christ was born, they came because the place offered safety, water, trade, fishing, and fertile soil. They built walls, they built quays, they traded grain, fish, honey, and olive oil. They worshipped their gods in modest temples. There was no empire yet, only a strategic port, calm seas, protective hills. But history has a way of preparing places long before they know their destiny. Long after Byzantion's founding, the Roman Empire rose, vast, complex, mighty. Rome spread across Europe, North Africa, and the Near East. Roads stitched it together, laws bound it, armies defended it. But Rome grew so large that governing it from one city became difficult. Frontiers stretched, wealth shifted, trade routes favored the east over the west. And so the eastern regions, fertile, defended by seas, rich with cities like Antioch and Alexandria, became the empire's strongest half. The west grew weaker, the east grew stronger. Scholars, merchants, and theologians flocked to eastern cities. Libraries preserved knowledge here. Schools taught medicine, philosophy, and law. The East became Rome's center of gravity, steadily, almost imperceptibly, and Byzantium, humble and overlooked though it was, sat perfectly in place, like a key waiting beside a locked door. Now imagine, the year is 330 CE. The Emperor Constantine the Great travels across the Bosporus Strait by ship. The water is calm, the breeze is gentle, the future is opening before him. Constantine sees Byzantium not as a small city, but as a foundation, a canvas on which he will draw a new Rome. He is practical. He knows the West is unstable, threatened by invasions of Goths, Vandals, and Franks. But the East, rich with trade, protected by sea, flourishing with scholarship, is strong. He is spiritual. Constantine has embraced Christianity, ending centuries of persecution. He dreams of a capital that reflects divine order, a city dedicated to unity, peace, and faith. So he chooses Byzantium. He designs walls, he plans palaces, he envisions markets, libraries, basilicas. He does not simply expand the town, he rebirths it, and in time it will bear his name. Constantinople, let your thoughts rest gently here. The city Constantine imagines is not frantic, it is not chaotic. It is serene, structured like a harmony, streets paved in marble, fountains flowing clear water, courtyards shaded by cypress and fig trees, scholars debating philosophy in quiet colonnades, priests chanting prayers that echo calmly through vaulted halls. This is a place not driven by conquest or destruction, but by preservation, a place meant to keep knowledge safe when storms rise elsewhere, a place meant to protect memory when the world forgets, a place meant to safeguard wisdom when violence threatens culture. Constantinople will become a lighthouse, for 1,000 years shimmering above the sea, for 1,000 years watching armies come and go, for 1,000 years collecting manuscripts, preserving laws, nurturing artisans. Where other empires burn their libraries, Byzantium shelters them. Where others collapse beneath violence, Byzantium outthinks, outlasts, endures. As you lie here listening, breathing softly, you are resting in the presence of a city that lived longer than any modern nation. Not because of brute strength, not because of blind ambition, but because of patience, structure, culture, diplomacy. A city built not for a moment, but for centuries. Let that calm sink into your thoughts. Things do not need to be rushed. Empires are not hurried. They are shaped slowly, thoughtfully, gently. Byzantium was not born in chaos. It emerged in calm, purposeful transformation, like dusk becoming night. Take a slow breath again. There is no rush, no urgency, no noise tugging at your mind, just the steady drift into an ancient world. The year is 330 CE. The Roman world is vast, but tired. Yet in the East, a new capital breathes with quiet confidence. Constantine knows what he is doing. He divides administration between East and West, but ultimately, the East becomes the heart. Rome does not end here. Rome reshapes itself, like molten gold poured into a new mold. The legal system is still Roman, the currency still Roman, the titles of officials still Roman, the citizens still see themselves as Roman. They are Romans who speak Greek, Romans who worship in Christianity, Romans who adopt Eastern customs, yet still Romans. The transformation is slow, gentle, and organized, not sudden, not chaotic. Let your mind picture this quiet restructuring, like reorganizing books on a shelf. Your imagination drifts toward the center of the young capital. The palace district stands not as a fortress, but as an arrangement of courtyards, gardens, walkways, and chambers. The great palace is not one giant building. It is a complex, a cluster of connected spaces, halls opening into atriums, atriums leading into gardens, gardens flowing into shaded galleries. Byzantium never wanted to overwhelm with size. Rather, it wanted to impress with refinement. Columns of marble, smooth, cool to the touch, floors paved with mosaics, tiny cubes of glass and stone, arranged into scenes of nature, animals, flowers, geometric patterns. Servants move quietly, courtiers walk with measured steps, diplomats whisper in soft Greek Latin, Coptic Syriac, a living blend of culture. The palace is not loud, it is not frantic, it is composed, graceful, ordered, like balanced breathing. Ritual matters here, ceremony provides stability. In a world of shifting empires, Constantinople anchors itself through order. Every action has meaning. When the emperor sits, he sits with purpose. When ambassadors greet him, they do so at a measured pace. Every bow, every gift, every phrase spoken in the throne room is structured. This is unusual to modern ear, but in Byzantium, rituals were reassuring. They protected culture, preserved identity, and provided continuity. Nothing abrupt, nothing spontaneous, everything gentle, everything steady. Let your mind flow into that state of structured calm. He does not impose it violently. He allows it to grow, like seeds planted in fertile soil. Churches appear across the city, not huge at first, not overwhelming, but beautifully crafted. The early basilicas are airy, with skylit interiors, incense drifting like slow clouds. The chanting of hymns is calm and meditative. Low, steady tones, voices blending like waves on a quiet shore. Prayer here is not dramatic. It is slow, thought out, reflective. The citizens begin to define themselves, not only through empire, but through faith shared gently among neighbors. Now drift deeper, down from palaces and churches, into the quiet rhythm of everyday life. Imagine walking through the city at dawn, not hurried footsteps, not bustling crowds, just the soft shuffle of sandals on stone, as bakers open their shops. Bread is the staple here, round loaves, soft inside, crusty outside. Bakers keep their ovens warm through the night, and at first light, they slide the first loaves out onto wooden tables. Families gather to buy them, mothers with cloth baskets, fathers speaking calmly to children, the sweet smell of wheat drifting through the streets. Nearby, olive oil merchants pour liquid gold into amphora jars. The oil glistens in the morning light, smooth and calm. By noon, some areas feel lively, though never chaotic. Merchants bargain quietly, not shouting but conversing in low tones. Fresh figs, pomegranates, dried fish, spices from Arabia, wine from the Aegean Islands, honey dripping slowly from clay jars. Silk appears in small quantities, rare, expensive, shimmering like moonlight. And there are books, scrolls and codices copied by patient scribes, script neat and careful. Byzantines loved knowledge. They preserved it gently, like placing delicate shells into a box of sand. Children play in safe courtyards, rolling small clay balls, playing with carved wooden toys. Education begins early. Reading, writing, basic arithmetic, then philosophy, literature, law. Schools are quiet environments. Teachers speak softly. Students repeat words carefully. Learning is not rushed here. Knowledge is a garden tended slowly. The city thrives not through conquest, but through craftsmanship. Potters shape clay with steady hands. Weavers pull thread gently through looms. Glassmakers blow molten glass slowly, forming jars that cool into soft blues and greens. Stonecutters carve marble blocks, not with violence but with patience. Each tap of the chisel guided, like controlled breath. You may think of the hippodrome as chaotic, but in this early period, It is surprisingly serene. Yes, chariots race. Yes, spectators cheer. But early Byzantium lacks the wildness later crowds displayed. Chariot drivers line up calmly. Horses snort gently. Mist rising in cool morning air. Nobles sit quietly beneath canopies. The mood is not frantic. It is ceremonial. Even entertainment reflects order. Water is sacred in this city. Aqueducts bring it from hills miles away. Fountains scatter it into basins. Bathhouses warm it for soothing immersion. Picture entering a bathhouse, warm mist rising, voices hushed, men soaking sore limbs after a day of work. The atmosphere is restorative. Byzantines believed the body needed calm to stay healthy. Even bathing becomes a moment of reflection. As day fades, lanterns are lit inside the palace. Oil lamps glow along smooth marble floors. Golden mosaics reflect the warm light. Courtiers speak in lowered voices. Scholars read by candlelight, copying pages of legal codes, summaries of philosophy, and the texts of ancient Greek teachers. Monks move quietly through corridors, chanting slow, rhythmic prayers. The palace does not sleep early, but it does not rush either. Night here is contemplative, and you drift with that calm, lungs moving slow, thoughts uncurled, resting in their quiet pattern. By the time Constantine dies, he has not created chaos, but order. He has not introduced upheaval, but continuity. He has not replaced Rome, but refined it. Constantinople is not a monument to ego. It is a structure designed to last. A place of libraries, administration, architecture, faith, trade, ritual. A place where the ancient world merges softly with the medieval future. And in this gentle transformation, the city becomes not merely a capital, but a guardian of civilization, protecting knowledge with quiet patience. Let that quietness settle in you now. Let it calm your thoughts. Let it remind you that endurance comes from consistency, not force. Take a deep breath. Inhale slowly, exhale slowly. Let your body relax. Let your mind drift into the quiet streets of Constantinople. The year is early 6th century, and the city is preparing to enter one of its most remarkable eras. Imagine a young man, born in the year 4080 CE, in a small town called Taurasium, in the region we now call North Macedonia. His name is Flavius Petrus Sabatius Justinianus, though later we will know him simply as Justinian. From the beginning, Justinian's life is marked by discipline and ambition. He studies law and politics, absorbing knowledge from the most learned teachers of the Byzantine world. Constantinople, by now a bustling hub of trade, scholarship, and religion, is alive with mosaics, markets, and chanting in soft tones from distant churches. Justinian moves to the city, his mind sharpened and observant. He notices how the administration works, how the markets function, how the clergy maintain both calm and order. He notices the careful choreography of power, the ceremonial greeting of ambassadors, the measured footsteps of palace guards, the rituals that hold a city together. In the year 5020 CE, after careful navigation of court politics, Justinian ascends to the throne. He is not yet in a hurry. He knows that empires are sustained slowly. His first thought is stability, political, social, and spiritual. He surrounds himself with advisors and scholars. He listens. He observes. Every decree is measured, deliberate, and designed to outlast a single lifetime. Justinian's vision is clear: to restore the Roman Empire to its former glory, to preserve the law, to protect faith, and to build structures that will endure for centuries. At Justinian's side is Theodora, a woman of remarkable intelligence, charm, and quiet fortitude. Her early life is humble. She rises from modest beginnings to the heart of imperial power. Theodora is not loud or aggressive. She is measured, calm, and persuasive. Her decisions are guided by observation and compassion, not anger or haste. She advises Justinian during moments of uncertainty, always emphasizing the need for stability and justice. Together, Justinian and Theodora form a partnership rooted in patience and thoughtfulness. They navigate the intricacies of court life, diplomacy, and legislation with gentle resolve. One of Justinian's greatest achievements is his legal reform, the creation of the Corpus Juris Civilis, or the Justinian Code. Imagine scribes, working quietly in candlelit rooms, copying centuries of Roman law onto parchment. Every word is chosen carefully, every decree intended to last for centuries. The code simplifies and organizes the vast legal system inherited from ancient Rome. It protects property, defines rights, and preserves justice. It is not designed to impress with complexity, but to endure with clarity. This work is not completed in haste. It takes years. It is a slow, meticulous labor of order, reason, and foresight, and the world will remember it for more than 1,000 years. Now imagine the construction of the Hagia Sophia, the Church of Holy Wisdom, in Constantinople. The year is 5030 CE. The city has just experienced the Nika riots, a period of unrest, yet from the ashes of conflict, a vision of calm, beauty, and divine order emerges. Justinian commissions architects Anthemius of Tralles and Isidore of Miletus. They plan a church unlike any other, a sanctuary of light, proportion, and serenity. Picture yourself entering the space. A vast nave stretches before you, silent, and the dome rises above, supported by pendentives, floating as if suspended between earth and sky. Sunlight filters through hundreds of windows, casting a gentle glow on mosaics of gold, blue, and soft green. The air is perfumed with incense. The floors are cool marble. Every detail, from carved capitals to the placement of lamps, has been considered with care and patience. Visitors, monks, and clergy move slowly, their footsteps soft, echoing faintly. Chanting rises in harmonious, meditative tones. The space is not intimidating. It is restful, calm, and awe-inspiring, designed to evoke reflection and serenity. As the Hagia Sophia rises, the city continues its daily rhythm. Merchants in the markets offer spices, silk, and textiles, speaking in quiet tones. Fishmongers display catches in neat rows. Families gather to purchase bread, olives, and figs. Children play gently in shaded courtyards, learning both practical skills and letters, numbers, and hymns. Artisans craft mosaics, tiles, and sculptures with deliberate, measured hand. Stonecutters, carpenters, and metal workers labor slowly, producing work that will last centuries. Everything in Constantinople is built to endure, an empire measured not in haste, but in longevity and stability. Justinian reforms the bureaucracy of Byzantium with care. He knows the empire is vast, spanning continents and seas. Direct governance from Constantinople alone is insufficient. The empire is divided into administrative units. Generals govern provinces, reporting slowly but steadily to the central authority. Taxation is calculated carefully, neither overburdening nor underfunding the state. This system allows the empire to survive wars, rebellions, and distant threats. It is not flashy. It is quiet, orderly, and deliberate, like a river flowing over stones, unseen but steady. Faith permeates daily life. The people rise early for prayers. Priests move softly through neighborhoods, tending to spiritual needs. The Hagia Sophia is not the only place of worship. Smaller churches, monasteries, and chapels dot the city. Each provides quiet reflection, gentle chanting, and a sense of calm continuity. Byzantine citizens view religion as orderly, stabilizing, and harmonious. Disputes are managed slowly, debates carried out with logic and ritual. Faith is not only personal, it is woven into governance, education, and culture. Even when unrest arises, the Byzantine approach emphasizes measured response. In 5032 CE, the Nika riots break out, Factions gather in the hippodrome, expressing anger over tax policies and court intrigues. Justinian does not act rashly. He consults advisors, counts supporters, and acts with precise control. The rebellion is ultimately quelled, but the response is strategic, measured, and deliberate. In the aftermath, the city rebuilds carefully, restoring calm and order. Every stone laid, every decree issued, every building reconstructed reflects the patience and foresight of an enduring empire. By the end of his reign, Justinian has accomplished remarkable things: codified Roman law, preserved Greek and Roman knowledge, expanded Byzantine influence into North Africa, Italy, and parts of Spain, built monuments that will endure for centuries. Most famously, the Hagia Sophia and Theodora, quietly has ensured the protection of women's rights, guided policies with wisdom, and strengthened the moral compass of the court. Their partnership embodies a slow, deliberate shaping of the empire, an empire meant to outlast the ages. Imagine walking slowly through Constantinople in this era, streets lined with fountains, their water trickling in calm arcs, courtyards shaded by cypress and olive trees, monks copying manuscripts by candlelight, markets quieting as afternoon light softens the city. All of this flows gently together: political power, spiritual devotion, intellectual preservation, everyday life, creating a city that is both alive and timeless. Let your breathing match this rhythm, slow, measured, steady. Just as the empire endures, you settle into calm. Every worry drifts away, every thought softens. Constantinople, in the age of Justinian and Theodora, is a city of patience, order, and reflection, and you are resting within its timeless embrace. Mace, take a slow breath. Feel your body soften, letting your mind drift gently into the calm streets and palaces of 6th century Constantinople. The city stands in the heart of an empire, a jewel perched between continents. Its walls rise firmly, protecting centuries of knowledge, art, and culture, but inside, life moves with the serene rhythm of order and continuity. The construction of the Hagia Sophia is a slow, meticulous process, guided by vision, mathematics, and patience. Imagine architects Anthemius and Isidore walking along scaffolds of timber and stone. The workers move deliberately, carrying marble blocks, carefully setting them into place. The dome, wide and lofty, slowly rises above the nave, supported by pendentives, innovative solutions to complex geometry. Sunlight filters softly through windows near the base of the dome, casting gold-tinted beams onto the floor. The mosaics are assembled piece by piece, tiny tesserae of glass and stone, depicting saints, angels, and geometric patterns. The gold glimmers faintly in the morning light, catching the eyes of visitors and inspiring calm awe. The church is completed in 53 CE, a monumental symbol of Byzantine ingenuity. It is a place designed not to overwhelm, but to soothe, a sanctuary for thought, reflection, and spiritual calm. Even as construction concludes, the Hagia Sophia stands as a reminder that patient labor, careful planning, and deliberate artistry can create something that endures beyond any lifetime. While Constantinople thrives, the empire beyond its walls is also changing slowly, deliberate. Justinian's ambitions extend across the Mediterranean. The North African territories, once under Vandal control, are reclaimed through careful military planning. Generals organize fleets and armies methodically, supplies calculated, routes mapped, and logistics perfected. Italy is another focus. Ostrogothic lands are approached with both diplomacy and force. Sieges are methodical. Cities are carefully invested. Victory is not achieved through haste, but through patience and careful preparation. Even in warfare, Byzantium values order over chaos. Soldiers are trained to act with discipline, Commanders issue slow, deliberate instructions. Every campaign is designed to stabilize, not merely conquer. In 54-1 CE, a new challenge appears, the plague of Justinian. It spreads slowly, inexorably arriving on ships carrying grain and goods. The city feels the quiet tension, markets less crowded, streets emptier, lamplight flickering in abandoned houses. Yet Byzantines respond with care, not panic. Hospitals, already established, provide gentle care. Religious communities offer aid and prayer, soft chants echoing in cloisters. Citizens adapt their routines, cleaning, isolating, and maintaining order. Even in tragedy, the city moves with measured calm. Life continues, slowly but steadily. Markets reopen, bread is baked, fountains flow. The plague passes as quietly as it arrived, leaving a population both wary and resilient. Drift now into the everyday life of Constantinople in Justinian's era. Imagine a morning market along the streets near the Hippodrome. Merchants arrange fresh produce, figs, pomegranates, olives and grapes. Fish is displayed on woven mats, silvery and fresh, glinting in the soft sunlight. Bread is sold in round loaves, soft inside and crusty outside, carried in baskets by mothers and fathers alike. Children, barefoot, run gently between stalls, laughing softly. You can almost hear the distant ripple of water from fountains, blending with the murmur of quiet conversations. Silk traders arrive from the east, bringing precious fabrics, smooth, soft, shimmering like moonlight. Merchants speak in measured tones, haggling calmly, their voices like the slow tide. No shouting, no chaos, only the steady rhythm of exchange. Byzantium thrives on craft and intellect. Artisans work in modest workshops. Potters shape clay slowly, creating jars, bowls, and amphorae. Weavers pull thread gently through wooden looms, producing textiles for the markets and the palace. Glassmakers blow molten glass, shaping it with careful breath and measured hands, forming jars, lamps, and beads. Scholars occupy quiet rooms in libraries and monasteries. They copy manuscripts slowly, preserving ancient Greek, Roman, and Christian texts. Every letter is written deliberately. Every page is carefully aligned. Knowledge is protected with patience, ready to be carried forward to future generations. Even architecture reflects this measured precision. Walls, gates, aqueducts are carefully planned. Every stone fits in its place. Every curve is designed to endure. Daily life is intertwined with spiritual practice. At dawn, priests and monks rise, chanting softly in basilicas and monasteries. Candles are lit. Incense rises like a slow cloud. Citizens attend services, moving quietly along cobbled streets, their footsteps soft on stone. Faith is integrated into life, not imposed violently. It brings stability. It provides structure. It gives rhythm to the city's days, weeks, and months. Even celebrations such as religious feasts are marked by slow processionals, measured music, and calm reflection. Byzantium's location ensures that trade flows steadily. Caravans arrive from Persia, Arabia, and beyond, bringing spices, precious stones, and textiles. Ships from Alexandria, Venice, and Constantinople carry grain, wine, and olive oil. Merchants move slowly but purposefully, unloading goods with care. Contracts are written in careful Greek, legal codes respected, taxes calculated precisely. This trade sustains the city. It allows the palace to function, markets to flourish, and artisans to continue their work. It is predictable, steady, and calm, a foundation for centuries of stability. Shadows stretch across marble courtyards, fountains trickle gently, candles flicker in churches, casting mosaics in soft shimmering patterns. Citizens retire slowly. Merchants close their stalls. Children are tucked into bed. Monks chant, uninterrupted, their voices blending with the calm of the city. Even the hippodrome, which once witnessed spectacle and excitement, becomes serene, empty, awaiting another day. In this era, Constantinople is more than a city. It is a living organism of calm, a hub where governance, religion, trade, and culture coexist in measured harmony. Through careful planning, patient labor, and thoughtful leadership, the empire expands, rebuilds, and endures. Even the challenges, plagues, rebellions, and wars, are met with deliberate, calm responses, ensuring the survival and continuity of civilization. Let that rhythm settle in your mind, slow, steady, enduring. As the city rests, so do you. As the empire preserves knowledge, so does your mind settle into calm reflection. Breathe gently, in out. Every stone, every mosaic, every fountain, every soft voice in the markets contributes to a world of order, patience, and quiet beauty. And now you drift, slowly, steadily, peacefully, through the streets and courtyards of Byzantium, through the rhythm of trade, prayer, scholarship, and daily life, into calm rest and monasteries of 6th century Constantinople. The city, now a jewel of the Mediterranean, hums quietly with the rhythms of empire. Markets, temples, palaces, and workshops all continue their deliberate, patient routine. The steady pulse of life in Byzantium mirrors the patient, deliberate approach of its ruler, Justinian. By the mid-540s, Justinian has reached the mature phase of his reign. He is experienced, cautious, and deeply attentive to detail. Every decree is deliberate, every reform is measured. His mind is attuned to the slow but steady needs of a vast empire. Justinian does not act impulsively. He observes the city, its people, and its distant provinces. He studies reports from generals, tax collectors, and ambassadors. He consults theologians, scholars, and advisors. Every action is filtered through patience and foresight. Central to Justinian's later years is the consolidation of imperial administration. The empire, though vast, is carefully organized into provinces and dioceses. Governors and generals are appointed based on merit and loyalty. Taxation, though necessary, is assessed with moderation to avoid unrest. Records are meticulously maintained, allowing the emperor to monitor finances, military logistics, and public works. This careful, organized approach allows Constantinople to endure pressures from both internal and external threats. Even when distant armies wage war or trade routes face disruption, the central administration maintains stability. Everything flows slowly, steadily, the pulse of a city and empire, in measured harmony. The Corpus Juris Civilis, begun earlier in his reign, continues to shape Byzantine law. Scribes and legal scholars move quietly through imperial offices and monasteries, copying laws, commenting on decrees, and ensuring continuity. Every decision in governance is informed by these legal codes. Justice is not hurried, it is deliberate, measured, and documented. Citizens feel the effect in subtle ways. Property disputes are settled with care. Contracts are honored. Citizens can navigate their daily lives with the assurance that law and order guide every interaction. Justinian's later years are also marked by religious and cultural consolidation. Christianity is central to life in the empire. Churches, monasteries, and basilicas are maintained with patience and care. Monks copy manuscripts, priests chant softly, and citizens move quietly through holy spaces. Iconography and religious art are carefully curated, Mosaics, frescoes, and sculptures reflect not only devotion but also the order and beauty of creation. Every image, every piece of art is meant to inspire reflection, calm, and respect. Religious debates are handled deliberately. The emperor convenes councils, listens carefully, and issues decrees that balance theology with political stability. Even disagreements are navigated with patience and foresight. Constantinople thrives under careful planning. Roads are maintained, aqueducts bring water to fountains, baths, and households. Walls are repaired and strengthened. Bridges are built to span rivers. The city is functional, beautiful, and enduring. Markets, workshops, and residences are carefully spaced, allowing citizens to move freely and safely. Public spaces, from squares to fountains, are places of calm interaction rather than chaos. Every brick, stone, and aqueduct is part of a slowly evolving city, designed to last centuries. Imagine walking through Constantinople in the mid-6th century. Merchants set up stalls along broad streets, their goods arranged neatly, olives, cheese, figs, and bread in orderly rows. Silk traders display fabrics folded carefully, the sunlight glinting softly on threads. Children play quietly in courtyards under the watchful eyes of elders. Teachers instruct students in reading, writing, arithmetic, and Christian scripture. Workshops hum with steady activity. Potters shape clay with deliberate hands. Glassmakers form delicate vessels. Weavers pull thread through looms, producing textiles for palace and market alike. Even daily entertainment is measured. Chariot races in the hippodrome occur with ceremonial order. Spectators watch calmly, not frantically. Every race is an exercise in rhythm, precision, and patience. The Byzantine military continues to protect the empire with strategic calm. Generals organize armies with careful attention to supply lines, training, and morale. Navies patrol the Mediterranean with slow, deliberate vigilance. Fortifications along borders are maintained, walls strengthened, and watchtowers staffed. Conflict exists, of course, but it is managed with planning and foresight, minimizing chaos and ensuring the continuity of society. The citizens trust that the empire's defenders act not impulsively, but deliberately, creating a sense of stability in daily life. Trade continues as a quiet, steady force in the empire. Goods arrive from all corners of the known world, spices and silks from the east, grain from Egypt, wine from the Aegean Islands, furs from the north. Merchants move carefully, documenting transactions, paying taxes, and ensuring goods reach the city without disruption. The economy is measured. Wealth circulates through the empire without chaos. Citizens experience daily life in a world that moves at a gentle, predictable pace. Justinian's later years witness a flourishing of intellectual and artistic life. Scholars copy texts by candlelight, preserving ancient Greek and Roman works. Philosophy, science, medicine, and literature are carefully studied and recorded. Artisans craft mosaics, icons, and architecture with deliberate attention to detail. Every act of creation is slow, precise, and intentional. The result is a culture that values patience and reflection, where beauty and knowledge are preserved for future generations. By the end of Justinian's life, Byzantium has been transformed. Legal systems standardized, religious life structured, and stable cultural works preserved and flourishing. Trade and daily life orderly and predictable. The empire demonstrates that slow, deliberate planning can create endurance. Chaos is minimized. Order and calm are maintained. Knowledge, art, and architecture are safeguarded. As you drift through this world, feel the steady rhythm of life. Fountains trickling, monks chanting, merchants speaking quietly, artisans shaping their craft, soldiers maintaining calm vigilance. Everything moves slowly, deliberately, and with purpose. Just as the empire preserves its strength, your mind can now preserve its calm. Breathe slowly. Feel the order of Constantinople settle around you. The rhythm of streets, palaces, churches, and markets flows into your body. Patience, steadiness, deliberate calm. Justinian's legacy is not loud or chaotic. It is slow, enduring, and thoughtful. And as you rest, you carry this calm into your own mind. The city sleeps gently, the empire endures quietly, and you drift with it, softly, steadily, peacefully. By the later 6th century, the Byzantine Empire is a vast and intricate state, stretching from the Adriatic to the Levant, from North Africa to the Black Sea. Constantinople, its capital, serves not only as a political and religious center, but also as a hub for administration, trade, and military coordination. The strength of the empire relies on careful organization of both its armies and its diplomacy, each interwoven with strategy, communication, and measured planning. The Byzantine military of Justinian's era is a sophisticated continuation of Roman traditions, adapted to the needs of a changing world. Unlike earlier Roman legions, the Byzantine forces are divided into regional commands, each responsible for both defense and the maintenance of local order. Soldiers are trained in infantry tactics, cavalry maneuvers, and siegecraft, ensuring that every unit can function independently while remaining part of a coordinated strategy. The army is divided into several key components. The executors, an elite unit originally serving as palace guards, whose discipline and training exemplify the precision valued across the empire. Limitani, border troops stationed along frontiers, particularly in Anatolia and along the Danube, tasked with monitoring movements and deterring invasions. Comitates, mobile field armies, capable of rapid deployment to areas threatened by rebellion or foreign incursion. Each soldier is supplied, equipped and trained according to established standards. The procurement of arms, armor, and provisions is a deliberate process, ensuring that armies remain prepared without unnecessary expenditure. The Byzantine Empire invests heavily in fortifications. Walls are not merely symbols of strength, they are practical, engineered defenses designed to withstand sieges and natural wear. Constantinople itself is protected by the Theodosian walls, a series of layered stone walls, towers, and moats that stretch for miles. Constructed with meticulous attention to geometry, thickness, and elevation, the walls incorporate gates and defensive mechanisms that allow defenders to observe and repel attackers without compromising the integrity of the city. Along the empire's borders, fortresses and watchtowers provide early warning of movement by hostile forces. Many are located near rivers, mountain passes, or coastlines, where terrain can be leveraged to the defender's advantage. Supply depots and secure roads link these fortifications to central command, allowing the rapid movement of reinforcements and resources. Cavalry plays a critical role in the mobility and strength of the Byzantine forces. Horsemen, often equipped with composite bows or lances, provide reconnaissance, skirmishing capabilities, and the rapid projection of force. Cavalry units are trained to maneuver in tight formations, execute feigned retreats, and support infantry operations effectively. Infantry units maintain cohesion through disciplined formations, often employing shields, spears, and swords. Their training emphasizes not only strength but also endurance, strategy, and the ability to respond to signals from commanders. Soldiers drill constantly, ensuring that even large formations can move as one entity during battle. The Byzantines excel in siege warfare, Engineers design battering rams, catapults, and siege towers to breach walls, while also developing defensive countermeasures for their own fortifications. Knowledge of hydraulics, pulleys, and mechanical advantage is applied to both offensive and defensive campaigns. Cities under siege may be supplied with water and food through aqueducts and hidden passages, minimizing the risk of starvation or surrender. Sieges are calculated with both sides relying on patience, resources, and strategy rather than reckless assaults. Naval power is equally important. Control of the Mediterranean, Aegean, and Black Sea ensures the security of trade routes, coastal cities, and imperial communications. The Byzantine navy relies on dromons, fast, maneuverable ships equipped with rams, and later Greek fire, a combustible mixture deployed to repel attackers at sea. Naval organization requires careful coordination of crews, supplies, and signaling. Fleets are stationed at strategic harbors ready to respond to threats or transport troops. Maritime dominance allows the empire to project influence across islands and along coasts, while simultaneously safeguarding Constantinople from blockade or invasion. Military preparedness is complemented by careful diplomacy. Relations with the Sasanian Persian Empire, for example, involve negotiations over borders, trade, and mutual threats. Ambassadors are dispatched to negotiate treaties, exchange hostages, and communicate intentions. Diplomacy extends to smaller states, tribal confederations, and emerging kingdoms. Byzantium maintains alliances through marriage, tribute, and ceremonial recognition, balancing power without resorting immediately to conflict. Decisions are deliberate, with long-term stability prioritized over short-term gain. During Justinian's reign, military campaigns extend beyond the eastern frontiers. In North Africa, Byzantine forces reconquer former Vandal territories, integrating them into the imperial administration. In Italy, campaigns against the Ostrogoths are conducted over years, requiring careful logistical planning and coordination with local populations. Supply lines are meticulously maintained. Soldiers move with adequate rations and equipment, and local cities are often incorporated into governance structures to ensure stability after conquest. Every military action is calculated to strengthen the empire's reach while minimizing disruption to civilians and infrastructure. Along the Danube, the Caucasus, and the eastern Anatolian frontiers, the Byzantines rely on intelligence networks to anticipate enemy movements. Scouts, informants, and diplomatic contacts provide information on potential threats. Commanders plan responses carefully, balancing the risk of engagement against the need for defense. Frontier forts are often self-sufficient, stocked with supplies that allow garrisons to withstand sieges or delays in reinforcement. Roads and bridges are maintained for the rapid movement of troops, reflecting a deliberate approach to military logistics. Byzantine governance integrates civil administration with military organization. Provincial governors often hold both civil and military authority, allowing coordinated responses to rebellion or invasion. Records are kept meticulously, tracking supplies, troop strength, and regional stability. This integration ensures that resources are allocated efficiently, threats are monitored continuously, and the empire's defenses remain adaptive without unnecessary expenditure. Training is continuous and rigorous, yet methodical. Soldiers practice formations, weapons handling, cavalry maneuvers, and coordinated attacks daily. Drills are repeated, ensuring reflexive responses in battle and reducing the chance of disorder. Discipline is enforced through clear hierarchy and regulation rather than arbitrary punishment. Orders are precise, communicated through signals, and designed to maintain cohesion across diverse units. Strategically located cities including Constantinople, Thessalonica, Antioch, and Alexandria serve as hubs of both administration and defense. Fortified walls, garrison troops, and secure supply routes allow these cities to withstand sieges, maintain trade, and project influence into surrounding regions. Even during campaigns far from the capital, these fortified centers act as anchors, ensuring the continuity beyond Persia. Byzantium maintains relations with emerging powers such as the Slavs, Avars, and various Germanic tribes. Treaties, marriages, and tribute agreements reduce the likelihood of sudden conflict. Where military engagement occurs, it is carefully calculated, often timed to minimize exposure to natural obstacles, weather, or supply constraints. By balancing diplomacy and defense, the Byzantines extend influence without overextending resources, maintaining both order and resilience across borders. An effective army requires more than soldiers and weapons. Byzantine logistics are meticulous. Granaries, armories, and supply depots are maintained at both central and frontier locations. Transportation networks of roads and rivers ensure that armies receive consistent food, water, and equipment. Movements are timed carefully, often avoiding extreme weather, ensuring that troops maintain readiness. Even in hostile terrain, supply lines are monitored and secured, reflecting the empire's preference for deliberate preparation over improvisation. By the end of this period, the Byzantine Empire demonstrates that stability is achieved through order, planning, and integration of military, civil, and diplomatic systems. Its army is disciplined and well organized. Its navy dominant, its diplomacy careful and strategic. Frontiers are fortified, intelligence networks are maintained, and logistics are managed with precision. Trade, governance, and culture continue to thrive under the protective oversight of this system. Even in times of unrest, the empire's careful structure allows it to respond effectively, preserving its influence, its cities, and its population. By the early 8th century, the Byzantine Empire faces a new set of challenges, not only from external threats but also from within. The question of religious imagery and its proper place in devotion and worship begins to shape policy, society, and politics across the empire. This period, known as iconoclasm, will influence Byzantine governance, culture, and daily life for decades. Iconoclasm, the deliberate opposition to the use of religious images, emerges slowly. The origins are complex, influenced by theological debates, political considerations, and the practical concerns of empire. Some scholars attribute early influences to concerns over idolatry, rooted in interpretations of scripture, military setbacks, seen by some as divine disfavor, prompting the removal of icons, the influence of neighboring Islamic regions, where figural representation is restricted. Byzantine emperors and clerics begin to debate whether icons, mosaics, frescoes, and statues enhance worship or constitute a form of improper reverence. Emperors of the period play an active role in shaping religious policy. Leo III initiates the first major wave of iconoclastic reforms. He orders the removal or destruction of religious images from churches and public spaces, advocating for strict adherence to scripture that forbids idolatry. The implementation of these policies is deliberate. Churches are inspected, clergy and artisans are instructed to remove images carefully. Legal decrees define punishments for disobedience, balancing enforcement with administrative order. The approach is methodical rather than chaotic, reflecting the Byzantine preference for measured governance. The period is marked by debates between iconoclasts, those opposed to images, and iconophiles, those supporting their use. These debates occur in church councils, imperial edicts, and written correspondence. Arguments are based on theology, tradition, and political pragmatism. The tone of debate is formal and structured, often carried out in writing or during synods. While disagreements are intense, the Byzantine system allows for legal and institutional channels to manage conflict. Punishments are applied through administration rather than mob action, and councils deliberate before issuing resolutions. The iconoclastic period produces significant changes in Byzantine art. Many mosaics and frescoes are removed or plastered over. New commissions emphasize geometric patterns, floral motifs, and inscriptions rather than figural representation. Church interiors reflect simplicity, with careful attention to proportion, light, and space. Even in the absence of traditional icons, architecture and decoration continue to embody calm, order, and aesthetic precision. Palaces, churches, and monasteries are maintained meticulously, reinforcing the empire's continuity and stability. Monasteries serve as centers of both resistance and adaptation during iconoclasm. Some monks defend icons, preserving manuscripts and artworks secretly. Others comply with imperial directives, altering their devotional practices. Daily routines in monasteries remain deliberate and disciplined. Prayer, labor, manuscript copying, and education continue according to monastic rules. The tension over imagery does not disrupt the broader rhythms of life, though it does influence the content of religious expression. Byzantine administrators and military leaders are tasked with enforcing iconoclastic policies across the empire. Inspectors travel to provinces, ensuring compliance in churches and public spaces. Troops occasionally accompany officials to maintain order. Local governors balance enforcement with attention to public sentiment, reducing unrest where possible. This deliberate, coordinated approach reflects a consistent principle in Byzantine governance. Even when implementing controversial policies, the empire prioritizes stability, organization, and continuity. The effects of iconoclasm are visible but integrated into ordinary life. Markets, workshops, and residences operate as before with little disruption to routine commerce. Citizens attend churches that may lack images but continue prayer, liturgy, and religious festivals. Education, law, and administration proceed under the same careful organization established in earlier centuries. Artisans adapt to new guidelines, producing work that remains aesthetically ordered, even without figural representations. Public spaces emphasize clarity, symmetry, and calm, reflecting the broader cultural values of Byzantium. Even during iconoclasm, Byzantine intellectual life persists. Scholars continue to copy texts, preserving Greek philosophy, Roman law, and Christian theology. Libraries and scriptoria remain centers of knowledge, producing manuscripts with calligraphy, geometric patterns, and inscriptions. Education continues in schools attached to monasteries and urban centers, teaching literacy, arithmetic, and religious instruction. This persistence underscores the empire's capacity to maintain continuity amid theological debate. Iconoclasm is not permanent. By the late 8th and early 9th centuries, emperors and church leaders restore the use of religious images. Councils reaffirm the theological legitimacy of icons, encouraging renewed artistic production. Restoration is carried out deliberately, with careful planning to replace or restore mosaics, frescoes, and icons without disrupting the functional life of churches. Artisans and clergy collaborate to reintroduce imagery while preserving order in worship and administration. Iconoclasm demonstrates the intersection of religious, political, and social forces in Byzantium. Religious policy influences governance and public compliance. Clergy, monastics, and lay citizens negotiate adherence, shaping social norms. Artisans, architects, and scholars adapt to regulatory changes without abandoning their work or discipline. Even amidst controversy, the Byzantine state operates with methodical precision, reinforcing the empire's resilience. External threats such as invasions from Arabs, Slavs, and Bulgars continue during iconoclasm. The Byzantine military maintains readiness despite internal religious debates. Fortifications are preserved and reinforced. Armies conduct patrols, field exercises, and campaigns with disciplined coordination. The combination of military discipline, administrative organization, and structured religious policy allows Byzantium to survive both ideological and physical threats. The iconoclasm period leaves a lasting mark on Byzantine culture. It produces art characterized by geometric elegance, inscriptions, and restrained visual expression. It strengthens the empire's capacity for deliberate policy enforcement. It demonstrates the resilience of administration, law, and society under theological and political pressure. By the time icon restoration is complete, Byzantine society has absorbed lessons in governance, adaptation, and cultural continuity. Churches, monasteries, and palaces continue to reflect order and discipline. Markets and workshops function predictably. Military and administrative systems remain efficient. The empire emerges from decades of controversy with stability intact and society resilient, prepared to face future challenges in both politics and culture. By the mid-9th century, the Byzantine Empire enters a period of consolidation and resurgence under the Macedonian dynasty, beginning with Basil I in 867 CE. This era is marked by administrative reform, military stability, cultural revival, and artistic flourishing. Constantinople continues as the heart of the empire, its streets, palaces, and churches reflecting careful planning and continuity of governance. Basil, of humble origin, rises through service in the imperial court, gaining favor through loyalty, intelligence, and skill in administration. Upon his accession, he focuses on strengthening central authority and reinforcing imperial institutions. The early years of his reign are deliberate. Policies are implemented gradually, ensuring stability rather than abrupt change. Advisors, scholars, and military leaders are consulted regularly. Every decree, military deployment, and administrative adjustment is measured with foresight, designed to last across decades. Basil and his successors emphasize centralizing administration while maintaining regional efficiency. Provincial governance is standardized to prevent corruption and inefficiency. Legal codes are clarified and codified, continuing the legacy of Justinian's Corpus Juris Civilis. Taxation is rationalized to ensure the state has sufficient resources while avoiding undue burden on citizens. In urban centers, officials supervise markets, public works, and law enforcement with precision. Documentation is meticulous, ensuring accountability and continuity. Roads, bridges, aqueducts, and fortifications are maintained systematically, reflecting the empire's long-term planning. The Macedonian emperors continue the careful integration of civil and military authority established centuries earlier. Provincial generals oversee defense while coordinating with civil administrators. The theme system, dividing the empire into military administrative districts, remains central to stability. Troops are trained in infantry and cavalry tactics, siegecraft, and logistics. Borders along the Danube, Balkans, and eastern Anatolia are fortified. Watchtowers, garrisons, and supply depots ensure rapid response to external threats. Diplomacy with neighboring powers, including Bulgars, Arabs, and Slavs, complements military readiness, balancing negotiation with defense. The Macedonian era is notable for a deliberate cultural revival. Monasteries and churches are restored or newly constructed. Religious art flourishes, combining geometric design, mosaic artistry, and figural representation, influenced by the restoration of icons after the iconoclastic period. Manuscript production increases, preserving classical Greek, Roman, and Christian texts. Emperors actively support scholars and artists, commissioning works for libraries, churches, and palaces. This support reinforces both spiritual life and intellectual continuity. The capital remains a central hub for trade, administration, and culture. Markets are organized and regulated, offering grain, wine, olive oil, spices, textiles, and crafts from across the empire. Artisans work in workshops producing mosaics, metalwork, textiles, and glass, each craft executed with deliberate skill. Schools, hospitals, and public spaces are maintained, reflecting continuity of civic planning. The city's infrastructure supports both domestic life and the empire's strategic objectives. Roads, aqueducts, and bridges connect Constantinople to provinces and neighboring regions, ensuring the steady flow of goods, communication, and governance. The Macedonian emperors pursue cautious but effective campaigns. Expansion into the Balkans strengthens borders and secures tributary states. Conflicts with the Abbasid Caliphate and Arab forces are addressed with coordinated military operations and diplomacy. Treaties, hostages, and ceremonial recognition of neighboring rulers maintain the empire's influence without unnecessary conflict. Armies are supplied carefully with attention to logistics, terrain, and timing. Campaigns are not rushed. Sieges are planned to minimize civilian disruption and preserve cities for future administration. Byzantine trade thrives under the Macedonian dynasty. Constantinople serves as the empire's trade hub, connecting Europe, the Middle East, and the Mediterranean. Merchants transport silk, spices, grain, wine, precious metals, and crafted goods across vast distances. Ports, roads, and marketplaces are maintained to ensure smooth movement of goods and currency. The economy is stable, predictable, and integrated with governance. Taxation, tariffs, and legal oversight support both commerce and state authority, allowing long-term planning for defense, infrastructure, and public works. Byzantine art experiences a renewed focus during this period. Mosaics in churches depict saints, biblical scenes, and imperial imagery, with geometric precision and vibrant color. Icon painting becomes increasingly sophisticated, following theological guidelines established after iconoclasm. Manuscripts, both religious and secular, are carefully copied and illuminated, combining textual accuracy with aesthetic detail. Artists and scribes work slowly and deliberately, producing works intended to endure centuries. This period establishes patterns of Byzantine art that influence Europe and the Near East for generations. The Macedonian dynasty promotes literacy and education, integrating classical knowledge with Christian teaching. Schools attached to monasteries and urban centers teach reading, writing, arithmetic, and theology. Scholars preserve classical Greek philosophy, medicine, astronomy, and mathematics. Libraries accumulate texts systematically, catalogued and maintained for future generations. This deliberate attention to learning ensures cultural continuity and reinforces the empire's intellectual influence across Europe and the Mediterranean. Religious life continues to structure daily routines. Prayer, liturgy, and festivals follow established cycles. Monks and clergy maintain strict schedules, copying texts, tending gardens, and educating novices. Citizens attend services, contributing to social cohesion and cultural continuity. Even during periods of political tension or military activity, religious and civic life proceeds in measured order, demonstrating the empire's capacity for maintaining stability across diverse contexts. Administrative records and legal documents are meticulously maintained. Provincial governors report regularly to central authorities. Taxation, trade licenses, and legal disputes are documented and adjudicated systematically. Imperial correspondence ensures coordinated action across distant regions. This bureaucracy provides continuity, allowing the Macedonian emperors to manage a large and diverse empire effectively. By the end of the 9th century, the Macedonian dynasty establishes a period of stability and growth. Borders are fortified and secured. Military organization and diplomacy maintain the empire's influence. Cultural, artistic, and scholarly production flourishes. Administration, law, and civic infrastructure are standardized and efficient. The empire emerges stronger, more resilient, and capable of enduring external pressures and internal challenges. Constantinople remains the beating heart of this revitalized Byzantium, a city reflecting both imperial authority and the deliberate rhythm of daily life. The Macedonian dynasty demonstrates that careful governance, measured cultural investment, and strategic planning produce a durable and thriving state. By the 11th and 12th centuries, the Byzantine Empire remains a dominant force in Eastern Europe and the Eastern Mediterranean. Its influence extends through trade, diplomacy, culture, and military engagement. During this period, Byzantium encounters increasing interaction with Western Europe, culminating in the era of the Crusades, which reshapes politics, commerce, and urban life. Byzantine emperors maintained structured relations with Western European powers, including the Holy Roman Empire, Norman principalities, and Italian maritime states such as Venice and Genoa. Diplomatic missions, marriages, and ceremonial exchanges formalize alliances. Treaties clarify boundaries, tribute, and mutual obligations. Ambassadors communicate carefully, often in writing, ensuring clarity and minimizing misunderstandings. This deliberate approach to diplomacy allows Byzantium to navigate a complex political landscape while maintaining internal stability. Trade flourishes between Byzantium and Western Europe, particularly through Italian maritime republics. Venetian and Genoese merchants transport spices, silk, and luxury goods from the east to European markets. Byzantium exports grain, wine, and crafted items. Ports such as Constantinople, Thessalonica, and Corfu are bustling, with careful organization of warehouses, docks, and customs operations. Trade networks are regulated and taxed systematically, ensuring that commerce supports both the economy and the state's administrative needs. The predictable, organized flow of goods strengthens economic stability across the empire. Western travelers, diplomats, and merchants bring ideas, technology, and cultural practices to Byzantium. Artistic influences, including manuscript illumination, metalwork, and architectural elements, are exchanged. Scholars share knowledge in mathematics, astronomy, and medicine. Religious ideas, liturgical practices, and ceremonial customs circulate between East and West. Byzantine culture absorbs and integrates these influences while maintaining core traditions. Artisans, scribes, and architects adapt foreign techniques to local styles, producing work that is both familiar and innovative. The First Crusade, 1096 to 1099, is a turning point in Byzantine-Western interaction. Byzantine emperors negotiate with Crusader leaders, balancing hospitality with caution. Cities along the Adriatic and Aegean coasts serve as staging points for Crusader armies. Logistics, supplies, and coordination require deliberate management to avoid disruption to local populations. Byzantine strategy emphasizes diplomacy, careful movement of troops, and monitoring of Crusader forces. Cities and fortifications are prepared for potential conflict. Yet everyday life in Constantinople and provincial towns continues steadily. During this period, Byzantium maintains strong military organization. Army units are stationed strategically along borders and key routes. Fortresses are repaired, maintained, and garrisoned to withstand both external attack and potential internal unrest. Naval forces patrol seas, ensuring safe passage for trade and military transport. Campaigns are carefully planned with attention to supply lines, terrain, and timing. This measured approach reduces risk and ensures the continuity of governance and commerce. Venice becomes a central economic partner, gaining trading privileges within the empire. Venetian merchants operate warehouses, docks, and marketplaces with administrative oversight. Taxes, customs, and tolls are carefully regulated to maintain revenue without excessive disruption. The exchange of goods and technology benefits both Byzantium and its Western partners. Venice's presence is carefully monitored, balancing the benefits of commerce with the need to preserve. The Fourth Crusade 1202 to 1204 marks a dramatic shift in relations with Western Europe. Crusader armies, diverted from the Holy Land, attack and capture Constantinople. The city experiences disruption to governance, trade, and infrastructure. Art, libraries, and religious artifacts are plundered, affecting cultural continuity. Despite the severity of this event, Byzantine administration and identity endure. Successive rulers restore imperial structures, fortifications, and trade networks, gradually re-establishing stability in the region. Throughout these interactions, the daily life of Constantinople and other cities remains structured. Markets continue to operate, selling food, textiles, and imported luxury goods. Artisans, merchants, and scholars adapt to new influences, producing work that integrates foreign styles while preserving Byzantine techniques. Religious life continues in churches and monasteries, adhering to established cycles of prayer, liturgy, and education. The resilience of urban systems allows the empire to absorb external pressures without total disruption, maintaining predictability in the rhythms of daily life. Byzantium serves as a conduit for classical knowledge and artistic tradition to Western Europe. Manuscripts of Greek philosophy, medicine, and science are copied, preserved, and circulated. Architectural and artistic techniques influence Italian and French craftsmen. Liturgical practices, ceremonial order, and legal traditions inform emerging Western institutions. This deliberate transmission ensures that Byzantine culture leaves a lasting imprint beyond its immediate borders. Emperors skillfully balance relationships with multiple powers simultaneously. Treaties with Western rulers coexist with agreements with neighboring Islamic states. Gifts, tribute, and ceremonial honors reinforce alliances and obligations. Intelligence networks monitor potential threats, allowing preemptive responses. The empire's success in diplomacy relies on careful calculation, structured communication, and patience, minimizing risk and maximizing strategic advantage. Even amid crusader campaigns, trade networks maintain flow. Ports remain functional, coordinating incoming and outgoing goods. Internal roads and rivers allow distribution of food, textiles, and luxury items. Taxation and legal oversight continue, providing predictable revenue streams for governance. This continuity ensures that Byzantium sustains its urban centers, fortifications, and administrative apparatus, even under external pressures. Byzantine authorities integrate military preparedness with civil administration. Garrisoned troops support security for cities, roads, and ports. Governors oversee logistics, resource allocation, and law enforcement. Coordination allows rapid response to rebellions, invasions, or logistical disruptions. This system emphasizes stability, predictability, and continuity, enabling the empire to function effectively across vast territories. The period of Crusader interaction leaves both challenges and benefits. Political disruption occasionally affects governance and urban life. Exposure to Western ideas, technologies, and artistic styles enriches Byzantine culture. Trade and diplomacy introduce new economic opportunities while reinforcing imperial oversight. Artisans, scholars, and merchants adapt with care, integrating new influences while maintaining the traditional structures of Byzantine life. By the late 12th century, Byzantine influence on Western Europe is well established. Artistic, architectural, and intellectual traditions spread westward. Trade and commerce create economic networks that endure for centuries. Diplomatic and military strategies demonstrate the effectiveness of measured, organized governance. The empire's ability to balance external engagement with internal stability reinforces its resilience. Despite challenges posed by crusades and foreign powers, Byzantium maintains continuity in governance, culture, and daily life. By the 12th and 13th centuries, Byzantine cities function as hubs of commerce, administration, culture, and social interaction. Constantinople remains the epicenter, but other urban centers, including Thessalonica, Antioch, and Nicaea, support the rhythms of empire. Trade, markets, crafts, and daily routines operate in careful balance, reflecting the structured organization of Byzantine governance. Markets are central to city life, operating with both order and diversity. Streets are lined with stalls and shops selling grains, fruits, vegetables, wine, olive oil, and fish. Specialized markets cater to artisans and luxury goods, including silk, glass, jewelry, and metalwork. Merchants from Italy, the Middle East, and North Africa bring imported products, expanding the variety of goods available. Goods are displayed with precision. Woven baskets hold produce neatly. Textiles are folded and stacked. Jars of olive oil and wine are arranged for easy access. Market regulations are enforced by officials, ensuring fair trade, weight standards, and taxation. Craftsmen operate in workshops organized by trade and skill. Potters, weavers, blacksmiths, and glassmakers produce goods systematically. Artisans follow established techniques, combining functional design with aesthetic quality. Luxury workshops create mosaics, icons, jewelry, and textiles commissioned by churches, palaces, and wealthy citizens. Work proceeds with deliberate pacing, balancing quality, durability, and artistic expression. Apprentices learn under masters, preserving techniques for future generations. Byzantine cities are carefully planned and maintained. Roads connect neighborhoods, markets, and ports, allowing efficient movement of people and goods. Aqueducts and fountains provide clean water to public spaces and households. Bridges and fortified gates enable both commerce and defense. Public buildings, including baths, hospitals, and law courts, operate with administrative oversight. Infrastructure supports predictable, orderly daily life, allowing citizens to conduct trade, social interaction, and civic duties efficiently. Byzantine trade extends beyond urban markets to international networks. Grain, wine, and olive oil move from rural provinces to cities. Silk, spices, and luxury goods travel from the east through Constantinople to Western Europe. Ports coordinate arrivals and departures of ships with meticulous record-keeping and customs collection. Trade is regulated systematically, providing stable revenue streams for the state while sustaining urban populations. Economic stability allows the empire to maintain fortifications, supply armies, and fund public works. Urban life depends on the productivity of rural provinces. Farmers cultivate wheat, barley, grapes, olives, and vegetables. Livestock, including sheep, goats, and cattle, provide meat, milk, and wool. Rural villages supply cities with grain, wine, and other essentials via established transport networks. Tax collection and provincial administration ensure that rural output is efficiently integrated into urban consumption markets and imperial reserves. Guilds regulate crafts, trade, and professional practice. Members adhere to standards for quality, pricing, and training. Senior artisans oversee apprentices and journeymen. ensuring continuity of skill. Guilds maintain records, enforce rules, and coordinate with local authorities to prevent disputes. This system contributes to predictable production, trade stability, and social cohesion in urban centers. Citizens follow structured routines. Families begin the day early with bread baking, household chores, and market visits. Children are educated in literacy, numeracy, and religious instruction. Civic and religious obligations guide social interaction and community participation. Neighborhoods maintain identity and order, with streets, public squares, and fountains facilitating both commerce and social gathering. Public celebrations, festivals, and religious ceremonies occur according to established schedules, integrating civic life with cultural and spiritual observance. Churches and monasteries remain central to social and cultural life. Daily liturgy, feast days, and religious processions structure community schedules. Monks, priests, and scholars contribute to education, manuscript copying, and charity. Iconography, mosaics, and church architecture reflect both devotion and aesthetic order. Even during periods of political tension, religious institutions maintain steady routines, anchoring social cohesion and cultural continuity. Specialized workshops support both local consumption and export. Textile workshops produce silk garments, embroidered linens, and dyed fabrics. Metal workers create tools, armor, coins, and decorative objects. Potters and glassmakers provide containers, tableware, and vessels for domestic and trade use. Production follows systematic patterns with careful inventory, quality control, and coordination with markets and trade networks. Byzantine urban centers maintain a focus on education and intellectual life. Schools, often associated with monasteries or civic institutions, teach reading, writing, mathematics, and religious studies. Scholars and scribes copy texts, preserving classical Greek, Roman, and Christian knowledge. Libraries and scriptoria organize and store manuscripts, supporting both learning and administration. This intellectual infrastructure reinforces the empire's cultural continuity and global influence. Byzantine cities produce significant artistic output. Mosaics, frescoes, and icons adorn churches, palaces, and civic buildings. Illuminated manuscripts combine textual accuracy with visual design. Ceramics, jewelry, and metalwork reflect both local tradition and international influences. Artisans integrate practical function with aesthetic form, producing work that endures physically and culturally. Urban populations operate within a structured hierarchy. Emperors and aristocrats exercise authority over provincial and urban administration. Merchants and guild members participate in regulated commerce. Artisans, laborers, and peasants perform essential economic and cultural functions. Legal and administrative systems maintain order, ensuring that disputes, taxes, and civic responsibilities are handled systematically. The daily rhythm of Byzantine cities reflects the integration of economic, cultural, and administrative structures. Markets, workshops, and religious institutions operate in predictable coordination. Trade flows smoothly through ports, roads, and warehouses. Education, scholarship, and artistic production continue steadily. Fortifications, governance, and law enforcement provide stability and protection. The empire's success in maintaining order, continuity, and productivity supports both urban and rural life, ensuring the durability of Byzantine civilization. By the 13th century, Byzantine urban centers exemplify a balance of commerce, culture, and governance. Markets and trade networks provide wealth and sustenance. Workshops and artisans produce functional and aesthetic goods. Education, religion, and intellectual activity reinforce cultural continuity. Civic planning, infrastructure, and administration maintain predictable routines and social stability. Through these systems, the empire demonstrates its ability to adapt to challenges while preserving structure, continuity, and cultural achievement. In 1204, Constantinople, the heart of the Byzantine Empire, fell to the forces of the Fourth Crusade, resulting in the Latin occupation. The city and empire faced profound disruption, but Byzantine resilience and administrative experience allowed for eventual recovery under the Palaiologos dynasty. This period illustrates both the fragility and adaptability of the empire, affecting governance, trade, society, and culture. The Latin capture of Constantinople was unprecedented. Crusader armies, diverted from their journey to the Holy Land, seized the capital after prolonged siege. Palaces, churches, and libraries were looted, with mosaics, icons, and manuscripts removed or destroyed. Imperial administration was disrupted, and many noble families were displaced or killed. Despite the chaos, the remaining Byzantine bureaucracy retained knowledge of governance, logistics, and diplomacy, providing a foundation for future recovery. Following the conquest, the Latin Empire 1204 to 1261 is established, with Western European rulers taking control of key territories. Constantinople's administration is reorganized under Latin officials, introducing Western legal and economic practices. Trade privileges are granted to Italian maritime republics, particularly Venice, enhancing commercial influence but sometimes marginalizing local Byzantine merchants. Urban life is disrupted but not entirely halted. Markets continue to function, artisans remain active, and daily routines persist under new authority. The Latin administration replaces Byzantine officials with Western counterparts. Civil and military offices are redistributed to Latin nobles and clergy. Byzantine law and administrative procedures are partially supplanted, though local knowledge continues to influence daily governance. Coordination of provincial administration becomes uneven, as Latin rulers rely on both imported officials and surviving Byzantine structures. This hybrid system allows essential functions, taxation, military readiness, and trade to continue, though often less efficiently than under Byzantine control. Trade continues, though under new conditions. Venetian and Genoese merchants dominate shipping, ports, and marketplaces. Urban production persists, but certain local industries are disrupted or redirected to serve Latin demands. Agricultural output from rural provinces continues to supply cities, maintaining basic sustenance for urban populations. Despite the disruption, the economy remains functional, illustrating the resilience of Byzantine trade networks and urban infrastructure. The Latin occupation influences society and culture. Orthodox clergy are displaced or marginalized in favor of Latin church authorities. Iconography, religious practices, and liturgical routines are altered, though Byzantine traditions survive in private and monastic settings. Artisans adapt, producing works that blend Byzantine and Western styles. Citizens navigate a complex social hierarchy, maintaining daily routines while accommodating new rulers and regulations. Beyond Constantinople, provinces experience varying degrees of disruption. Local administrators attempt to maintain order using surviving Byzantine systems. Fortresses, towns, and roads are managed carefully to prevent collapse of supply lines and security. Rural communities continue agricultural production, supporting both local consumption and urban centers. This decentralized resilience allows the empire's social and economic structures to endure until Byzantine recovery is possible. Following the fall of Constantinople, several Byzantine successor states emerge. Empire of Nicaea becomes the center of imperial recovery efforts. Despotate of Epirus and Empire of Trebizond maintain autonomous Byzantine traditions in other regions. These states preserve governance, military organization, and cultural continuity, ensuring the survival of Byzantine identity. Successor states serve as incubators for recovery, keeping legal, religious, and administrative knowledge intact. Byzantine military tradition persists. Troops are trained, garrisons maintained, and fortifications reinforced in successor states. Defensive strategy emphasizes strongholds, intelligence gathering, and calculated engagement rather than reckless confrontation. Coordination between provinces ensures that the military can respond effectively to both Latin incursions and external threats. This measured approach prevents the permanent loss of territory and lays the groundwork for restoration. In 1261, Michael VIII Palaiologos successfully restores Byzantine control over Constantinople. The city's administration is re-established, blending surviving Byzantine structures with reforms to improve efficiency. Trade networks are reactivated, and Venetian and Genoese influence is managed to balance foreign commerce with imperial interests. Military, civil, and religious institutions are reorganized systematically, restoring predictability and order to governance. The recovery process is deliberate, emphasizing restoration over rapid expansion, allowing infrastructure, economy, and cultural life to stabilize. Post-recovery Constantinople focuses on rebuilding urban systems. Markets, warehouses, and docks are repaired and restructured. Guilds and workshops resume operations, producing goods for local consumption and trade. Roads, bridges, aqueducts, and fortifications are maintained and reinforced. This careful approach ensures continuity, providing predictable structures for commerce, artisanship, and civic administration. The Palaiologan restoration promotes art, literature, and scholarship. Monasteries and churches rebuild mosaics, icons, and architectural features damaged during the Latin occupation. Manuscript production and illumination continue, preserving Greek, Roman, and Christian knowledge. Artistic and literary activity reflects both traditional Byzantine styles and influences absorbed from Western Europe during Latin rule. Cultural recovery emphasizes continuity, quality, and long-term preservation, rather than rapid or improvised output. Orthodox religious institutions are re-established. Clergy resume liturgical duties and educational roles. Monastic communities restore manuscript production, education, and charitable activities. Religious festivals, processions, and daily worship return to established routines. These measures reinforce social cohesion and maintain the moral and spiritual foundations of urban and provincial life. Economic activity resumes under coordinated administration. Agricultural provinces supply grain, wine, olive oil, and other essentials to urban centers. Imports of silk, spices, and luxury goods from East continue through controlled ports. Trade privileges with Italian maritime republics are regulated to balance foreign influence with imperial revenue. Steady economic management supports reconstruction, military readiness, and civic infrastructure. The period demonstrates the resilience of Byzantine institutions. Despite political disruption, administrative, military, and economic systems endure. Cultural and religious traditions survive, adapted but continuous. Urban life, trade, and artisanal production resume, reflecting careful reconstruction. By the late 13th century, Constantinople and the empire regained stability. Governance, trade, culture, and daily life reflect both continuity and adaptation, illustrating the empire's ability to recover from profound challenges. By the late 13th and 14th centuries, the Byzantine Empire enters the Palaiologan period, named for the ruling dynasty established after the restoration of Constantinople in 1261. This era is marked by careful cultural revival, ongoing economic and urban development, and structured social organization, even as the empire faces increasing external pressures from the Ottoman Turks, Italian maritime republics, and Balkan states. Art flourishes deliberately during the Palaiologan era. Icons and mosaics reflect theological precision, refined technique, and emotional expression. Illuminated manuscripts combine text and decoration with careful symmetry, clarity, and aesthetic richness. Frescoes adorn churches, depicting biblical narratives, saints, and imperial imagery with attention to proportion, color, and perspective. Artisans and scribes operate with discipline, often in workshops associated with monasteries or urban guilds. Each work is produced with deliberate pacing, ensuring durability, clarity, and visual harmony. Architecture reflects both continuity and adaptation. Churches such as Chora Monastery in Constantinople exemplify careful planning, mosaics, and fresco cycles integrated with domed structures. Palaces, civic buildings, and fortifications are restored or newly constructed using established techniques, reinforced with modern adaptations to improve durability. Urban planning emphasizes accessibility, fortification, and integration of civic, religious, and commercial functions. Builders apply precise measurements, geometric design, and material selection to ensure both functional and aesthetic outcomes. Trade remains central to Byzantine urban life. Constantinople functions as the empire's hub, connecting East and West, Mediterranean and Black Sea. Venetian and Genoese merchants operate under regulated agreements, contributing to both commerce and diplomatic balance. Rural provinces supply grain, wine, olive oil, and textiles, integrated into urban markets through organized transport networks. The economy emphasizes predictability and efficiency. Markets, customs, warehouses, and ports are maintained systematically to support sustained trade and commerce. Monasteries and churches continue to serve as centers of learning and devotion. Monks copy manuscripts, preserving theological, philosophical, and scientific texts. Religious education reinforces literacy, cultural continuity, and moral instruction. Daily liturgy, feast days, and processions structure both personal and communal life. Religious institutions anchor social cohesion, maintaining rhythm and stability across neighborhoods and provinces. Urban centers rely on carefully managed rural production. Farms produce grain, legumes, vegetables, and wine for urban consumption. Livestock provides meat, dairy, wool, and leather goods. Agricultural output is coordinated through provincial administration, taxation, and transport logistics. The integration of rural and urban economies ensures food security, market stability, and support for urban populations. Despite increasing threats from the Ottomans and Balkan states, Byzantium continues to engage in international trade. Imports of silk, spices, and luxury goods from the East support urban markets and elite consumption. Exports of grain, olive oil, wine, and crafts strengthen diplomatic and economic ties. Cultural influences, including artistic and architectural techniques, continue to circulate between Byzantium and Western Europe. Trade is deliberate, regulated, and integrated into state administration, balancing economic benefits with strategic security. Even amid urban and cultural revival, military readiness is carefully maintained. Fortresses, city walls, and garrisons are repaired and reinforced. Troops conduct regular training in infantry, cavalry, and siege techniques. Naval units patrol coasts and trade routes, ensuring safe passage and strategic security. Byzantine military discipline emphasizes coordination, logistics, and deliberate planning, enabling the state to respond effectively to both internal and external challenges. Cultural production thrives in a structured environment. Libraries and scriptoria continue the careful preservation and copying of classical and theological texts. Literature flourishes, including histories, chronicles, poetry, and philosophical treatises. Artists, architects, and scholars produce work with deliberate attention to detail, aesthetic quality, and intellectual rigor. This intellectual and artistic activity strengthens social cohesion, preserves historical memory, and enhances civic and religious life. The Paleologan period maintains a hierarchical social structure. Emperors, aristocrats, and high officials exercise authority over provincial and urban administration. Merchants, guild members, and artisans participate in organized commerce and production. Laborers, peasants, and rural producers support the economy through structured, predictable output. Legal and administrative systems enforce order, ensure accountability, and maintain social cohesion across urban and rural areas. Despite external threats and territorial contraction, the Paleologan period demonstrates cultural continuity and deliberate artistic achievement. Structured governance, economic organization, and urban planning, integration of military readiness, trade, and civic life into predictable systems. Byzantine cities, monasteries, markets, and workshops continue to operate efficiently, preserving intellectual, artistic, and economic vitality until the eventual fall of Constantinople in 1453. By the 14th century, the Byzantine Empire faces increasing external pressures from emerging powers, including the Ottoman Turks, Serbian and Bulgarian states, and Italian maritime republics. Despite territorial contraction, Byzantium demonstrates remarkable adaptability in diplomacy, military organization, and economic and cultural life. The late Byzantine emperors engage in careful, calculated diplomacy. Marriage alliances link the Paleologan dynasty, with regional rulers securing loyalty and reducing hostilities. Treaties and agreements regulate trade, tribute, and military obligations with neighboring states. Envoys and ambassadors maintain regular communication with Latin powers, Balkan principalities, and emerging Turkish emirates. Diplomatic efforts are methodical and deliberate, designed to preserve Byzantine influence despite declining territorial control. Written correspondence, ceremonial exchanges, and negotiated settlements maintain stability in a complex geopolitical environment. The Ottomans emerge as the most significant threat. Byzantine emperors negotiate alliances, tribute, and military cooperation, where possible, balancing caution with strategic necessity. Fortifications, garrisons, and border watchtowers are strengthened along key Anatolian and Thracian frontiers. Spies and intelligence networks monitor Ottoman movements, allowing preemptive responses to incursions. These measures emphasize deliberate, calculated defense, avoiding rash engagements that could weaken the empire further. Byzantium maintains both cooperation and rivalry with neighboring Balkan powers. Serbian and Bulgarian rulers are engaged through diplomacy, trade agreements, and occasional military coordination. Tributary arrangements and negotiated boundaries reduce direct conflict while preserving imperial prestige. Byzantine envoys coordinate intelligence and supply routes, reinforcing administrative control over contested regions. Through careful negotiation, the empire maintains influence despite territorial losses. Even in a period of decline, Byzantine military structures remain disciplined. Armies are organized with attention to hierarchy, training, and logistics. Troops stationed in strategic locations maintain readiness for both defensive and limited offensive operations. Fortifications, including city walls, mountain passes, and river crossings, are systematically reinforced. Military strategy emphasizes flexibility, intelligence, and deliberate engagement rather than reckless confrontation, allowing the empire to preserve key strongholds. Control of the sea remains critical. Fleets patrol the Aegean, Marmara, and Black Sea, safeguarding trade and communication. Shipbuilding and maintenance are coordinated to ensure operational readiness. Coastal fortifications protect ports, warehouses, and urban centers from raids and sieges. Naval defense integrates with land-based strategies, ensuring comprehensive security for remaining territories. Despite shrinking territory, cultural life remains vibrant. Iconography, mosaics, and frescoes continue to be produced in churches and monasteries. Manuscripts preserve classical, philosophical, and theological knowledge. Artists integrate Western, Balkan, and Eastern influences into their work, adapting creatively to new realities. Churches and monasteries remain central. Liturgical routines, feast days, and processions structure both urban and rural life. Monastic communities sustain education, manuscript copying, and charitable works. Religious institutions reinforce social cohesion and continuity of cultural values. Even under political and military pressure, religious routines provide stability and predictability in daily life. Education and scholarship continue deliberately. Schools teach literacy, numeracy, and theology, often attached to monasteries or urban centers. Manuscript copying preserves Greek, Roman, and Byzantine texts, ensuring continuity of knowledge. Scholars produce chronicles, histories, and theological treatises reflecting careful research and deliberation. Intellectual life reinforces civic identity, historical memory, and cultural continuity. Byzantium adapts to increasingly aggressive neighbors through measured strategy. Fortifications and garrisons secure key points without overextending limited military resources. Diplomacy balances tribute, alliances, and negotiation to preserve autonomy. Economic and cultural networks are adjusted to maintain urban life and administrative function. This deliberate, patient approach extends the empire's survival despite contraction and external threats. By the mid-15th century, Byzantium demonstrates resilience despite decline. Administrative, military, and economic structures operate with continuity. Cultural, intellectual, and religious traditions endure and adapt. Urban life, trade, and civic organization remain functional, reflecting disciplined governance. Even as the empire faces imminent conquest, the structured, methodical organization of Byzantine life showcases the durability of its institutions and culture. By the 14th and early 15th centuries, the Byzantine Empire has contracted territorially, yet its towns, cities, and countryside maintain structured social, economic, and cultural life. Daily routines, economic organization, guilds, markets, and religious and educational institutions reflect centuries of deliberate governance, even amid external pressures from the Ottomans, Italian merchants, and Balkan states. In late Byzantine towns and cities, daily life is methodical. Markets remain the center of economic life. Stalls sell grains, fruits, vegetables, wine, olive oil, fish, and textiles. Luxury goods, including silk, jewelry, and imported spices, are available for wealthier citizens. Italian merchants, particularly Venetians and Genoese, operate within regulated areas, contributing to both commerce and diplomacy. Market organization emphasizes order. Officials inspect weights and measures, enforce fair pricing, and collect taxes systematically. Trade proceeds in predictable patterns, supporting both urban consumption and imperial revenue. Guilds regulate professional and artisanal activity. Membership includes masters, journeymen, and apprentices, ensuring continuity of skill. Workshops produce textiles, metalwork, ceramics, glass, mosaics, icons, and illuminated manuscripts. Standards for quality, pricing, and production are maintained meticulously, often coordinated with municipal or imperial authorities. Guilds also serve social functions, providing mutual aid, education for apprentices, and ceremonial participation in religious and civic events. The countryside continues to supply urban centers. Farms produce wheat, barley, vegetables, grapes, and olives. Livestock include sheep, goats, cattle, and poultry, supplying meat, milk, and wool. Rural communities are integrated into imperial taxation and transport systems, ensuring steady delivery of goods to towns and cities. Agricultural output is coordinated carefully, with storage, transport, and distribution planned to prevent shortages. Seasonal rhythms dictate sowing, harvesting, and livestock management, forming a predictable cycle of rural life. Late Byzantine economic life reflects adaptation to population decline and territorial contraction. Urban markets adjust supply and demand to reflect smaller populations. Rural production focuses on staple crops, luxury items for elite consumption, and tradable goods. Trade agreements with Italian merchants, Balkan neighbors, and Eastern suppliers are carefully negotiated to maintain stability. Administrative oversight ensures taxation, customs, and tariffs are applied consistently, sustaining revenue for fortifications, military maintenance, and urban infrastructure. Society is organized into clear social hierarchies. Emperors, aristocrats, and officials direct administration, military, and governance. Merchants and guild members manage trade, production, and economic networks. Artisans, laborers, and peasants sustain urban and rural productivity. Legal codes, municipal regulations, and religious oversight maintain order, prevent disputes, and structure civic participation. This hierarchy supports predictable, deliberate routines across urban and rural spaces. Religion remains central to both private and public life. Daily liturgy, feast days, and seasonal festivals structure communal life. Monasteries maintain manuscript copying, education, and charitable work. Churches function as centers of social cohesion, offering guidance, support, and continuity. Religious practice provides a rhythmic framework for daily routines, reinforcing social norms, cultural identity, and moral education. Education continues despite population and territorial pressures. Schools attached to monasteries or urban centers teach literacy, arithmetic, and religious studies. Manuscript production preserves classical Greek, Roman, and Byzantine texts, integrating both secular and theological knowledge. Scholars produce chronicles, histories, legal documents, and philosophical works, emphasizing accuracy and intellectual rigor. This deliberate maintenance of knowledge ensures the continuity of cultural memory and intellectual life. Even in a declining empire, artistic and cultural production thrives. Icons, mosaics, frescoes, and illuminated manuscripts reflect both traditional Byzantine styles and influences from Western Europe, the Balkans, and the East. Artisans work slowly and deliberately, prioritizing accuracy, aesthetic harmony, and theological correctness. Cultural production serves religious, civic, and educational purposes, preserving identity amid uncertainty. This careful approach strengthens social cohesion and maintains cultural continuity. The military remains disciplined and strategically organized. Garrisons protect cities, trade routes, and key passes. Fortifications are repaired and reinforced, including walls, towers, and coastal defenses. Military strategy emphasizes intelligence, logistics, and deliberate engagement, avoiding unnecessary risk. Even with limited resources, measured preparation ensures urban security and border stability. By the early 15th century, Byzantine society demonstrates resilience. Daily routines, education, markets, and crafts maintain continuity despite political and military pressures. Cultural, artistic, and religious institutions preserve identity and intellectual memory. Administrative, military, and economic systems operate with deliberate organization, supporting urban and rural stability. The ability of Byzantium to preserve structured, predictable life in the face of decline highlights its disciplined governance, cultural continuity, and societal cohesion. By the early 15th century, the Byzantine Empire has been reduced to Constantinople and scattered territories along the Aegean and Marmara. Political fragmentation, population decline, and relentless external pressure from the Ottoman Empire define the final decades. Yet, daily life, trade, cultural activity, and religious observance continue with deliberate structure, reflecting centuries of resilience. Byzantine authority is largely symbolic beyond Constantinople. Local governors and noble families exercise autonomy in the Peloponnese Islands and Thrace. Diplomatic efforts are ongoing with Western Europe, including appeals for military aid, marriage alliances, and treaties, though support is limited and inconsistent. Emperors balance diplomacy with military preparation, carefully managing scarce resources to maintain urban stability. The Ottomans gradually encircle Constantinople. Tributary agreements, bribes, and temporary truces are negotiated to delay direct conflict. Byzantine envoys coordinate intelligence and logistics to reinforce city defenses. Ottoman advances require constant adaptation of defensive strategy, including garrison rotations and fortification repairs. Deliberate patience and careful negotiation are central to Byzantine survival in this period. Constantinople's walls, including the Theodosian walls, are repaired and strengthened systematically. Garrisoned troops, supplemented by mercenaries, maintain readiness. Cannons and siege engines are integrated into defensive planning, though resources are limited. Military operations emphasize intelligence, fortification management, and selective engagement rather than large-scale campaigns, reflecting pragmatic adaptation to overwhelming odds. Daily life continues with predictable routines despite siege conditions. Markets operate within protective zones, supplying bread, vegetables, and essential goods. Artisans continue workshops producing textiles, metalwork, and ecclesiastical art. Families maintain domestic schedules, education, and religious observances, providing stability amid uncertainty. The rhythms of daily life, though constrained, persist in structured order. Churches maintain liturgy, feast days, and processions within safety measures. Monastic communities continue manuscript production, theological study, and charity. Cultural activities, including illumination, iconography, and fresco restoration, proceed deliberately, emphasizing continuity and heritage. Religious and cultural routines reinforce community cohesion and resilience. Trade is limited but managed carefully, focusing on essential goods and imports via Venetian and Genoese merchants. Rural provinces contribute grain, wine, and olive oil, coordinated through structured transport and storage systems. Guilds and artisans adapt production to meet both local consumption and defensive needs. Economic stability is maintained through administrative oversight, predictable taxation, and careful allocation of scarce resources. This organization allows the city to function as a coherent urban environment despite external pressure. As the 15th century unfolds, Constantinople stands as the last great city of the Byzantine Empire. Surrounded by the growing power of the Ottoman Empire, the city prepares carefully for what will be its final challenge. In early April 1453, Sultan Mehmed II arrives with an Ottoman army reportedly numbering between 80,000 and 100,000 men. The city's defenders, under Emperor Constantine XI Palaiologos, number only around 7,000 to 10,000, including mercenaries, local militia, and volunteers. Vastly outnumbered, the defenders prepare with careful precision. Ottoman forces begin positioning artillery, including massive cannons designed to batter the city walls. Constantinople's famous Theodosian walls stretch nearly 5 kilometers, with multiple layers, outer walls, inner walls, and a moat. Defenders reinforce weak points, repair breaches, and organize artillery atop walls. The walls stand as centuries of careful construction, holding steadfast against the growing tide outside. Even under threat, life continues, slowly, steadily, with measured care. On April 6, 1453, the Ottoman bombardment begins. Cannons thunder against the walls, creating vibrations felt across the city. Defenders respond by repairing breaches, hurling projectiles, and using boiling oil, archers and crossbowmen in methodical rotation. Sleep-friendly tone. Emphasize steady, deliberate action rather than chaos. Ottoman ships blockade the Golden Horn, while defenders attempt to maintain a chain across the harbour entrance to prevent naval incursion. Small Byzantine ships conduct sorties carefully, harassing enemy vessels with measured precision. On the water, as on the walls, both sides act with caution, each movement deliberate. Over several weeks, Ottoman forces launch repeated assaults. Defenders rotate duties, repairing walls, manning towers, maintaining communication. The city's inhabitants adapt. Some work at night, some during day, coordinating quietly and efficiently. Every action is careful, measured, deliberate. The city breathes slowly, like a living organism resisting the storm. At dawn, Sultan Mehmed orders the decisive assault. Massive artillery continues to batter walls. Infantry and janissaries approach strategically. Defenders hold as long as possible, coordinating counterattacks with archers and crossbowmen, throwing projectiles down from the walls. Though vastly outnumbered, the defenders act with steady courage, their movements careful and deliberate, defending every inch. After hours of combat, a section of the walls is breached. Ottoman troops enter methodically, securing positions and advancing into the city. Emperor Constantine XI reportedly removes his imperial regalia, fights, and disappears in battle. Survivors are captured, displaced, or adapt to new Ottoman rule. Monasteries, churches, and citizens retain fragments of culture, religious practice, and artistic knowledge. Though the city falls, life, knowledge, and culture continue, quietly, subtly, threading through time. And now, as the sun sets over the city, we imagine its streets, its walls, its people, resilient, enduring, and calm, ready to rest after centuries of steady, deliberate life. The city is captured, administrative systems are replaced, and parts of the population are displaced. Churches are converted, but many religious routines and private observances continue under adaptation. Art, manuscripts, and cultural artifacts are looted, yet knowledge and traditions survive through diaspora, monasteries, and remaining communities. The fall represents a political end, but does not erase the cultural, religious, and intellectual legacy built over a millennium. The Byzantine resilience ensures that cultural and intellectual memory persists beyond the empire's political existence. The Byzantine Empire's enduring legacy spans culture, art, law, religion, trade, and governance. Though politically extinguished in 1453, the structures, routines, and systems it developed over centuries continue to influence the Mediterranean, Eastern Europe, and the wider world. Icons, mosaics, frescoes, and illuminated manuscripts inspire Orthodox Christian traditions for centuries. Byzantine architectural principles, including domes, arches, and decorative techniques, influence Renaissance Italy, Russia, and the Balkans. Manuscripts preserve Greek and Roman philosophy, mathematics, medicine, and literature, forming the foundation for Western and Eastern intellectual revival. Artistic production demonstrates disciplined technique, aesthetic clarity, and deliberate composition, ensuring durability and transmission of cultural identity. Orthodox Christianity retains Byzantine liturgy, theology, and ritual practices across Eastern Europe and Russia. Monastic scholarship continues to produce, copy, and study manuscripts, maintaining intellectual continuity. Educational traditions, including classical and theological curricula, influence universities, religious schools, and scholars for centuries. Byzantium's religious and intellectual structures provide predictable frameworks for cultural and moral life, extending far beyond its political boundaries. Trade networks established by Byzantium, particularly through the Mediterranean, inform later European commerce. Guilds, markets, and artisan practices set standards for professional organization, quality, and apprenticeship. Ports, roads, and urban infrastructure influence Renaissance urban planning and logistics. Economic systems exemplify deliberate organization, predictability, and adaptation to changing political and demographic realities. Byzantine law, codified in works such as the Basilica, informs Ottoman, Russian, and Western legal traditions. Administrative hierarchies, tax systems, and civil procedures demonstrate structured, deliberate governance. Diplomacy, treaty-making, and bureaucratic practices influence successor states and European powers. Governance reflects measured calculation, careful documentation, and integration of military, economic, and civic systems. Byzantine urban planning, including neighborhoods, markets, fortifications, and public buildings, establishes models for city organization. Guilds, neighborhoods, and civic structures provide predictable daily routines, social cohesion, and resilience. Educational, religious, and cultural institutions sustain intellectual and moral continuity. Even after political collapse, these structured patterns inform subsequent societies and cities. Fortification design, troop organization, and logistical planning influence military strategy in Europe and the Mediterranean. The disciplined approach to defense, emphasizing intelligence, fortification, and strategic patience, is studied and emulated. Naval organization and control of trade routes inform later maritime powers. Byzantine military principles demonstrate deliberate planning and coordination, preserving security and resilience over centuries. Renaissance Europe benefits from Byzantine manuscripts, artistic techniques, and philosophical traditions. Orthodox Christian states, particularly in Russia and the Balkans, adopt Byzantine liturgy, architecture, and law. Urban planning, trade networks, and guild systems continue to influence economic and social organization across the Mediterranean and Eastern Europe. Byzantium's structured, disciplined approach to daily life, governance, culture, and trade ensures a legacy of continuity, adaptability, and resilience that outlasts political power. Even as Constantinople fell, the deliberate, measured, and resilient systems of Byzantine life continue to influence societies, economies, and cultures far beyond its borders. Its legacy is not only historical but also structural, guiding human organization, creativity, and continuity for generations to come.